Hello and welcome. This video is a part of the Back to the Roots series that I'm doing, PS3 to PC. But the information you will find here is relevant for any gamer. A good starting point for finding your best setting. So, let's talk about setting for your mouse and keyboard. Personally, I'm using the Logitech G500 mouse and the Logitech Wave keyboard. But the principle is the same for all gaming mouses out there. And for the keyboard, personally, I use a keyboard that I like, regardless the gamer's tap on it. So, any generic keyboard will do. We are going to go over the mouse key settings and sensitivity in depth. But before we will do that, let's watch and to see how it's actually performed in-game with the basic movement, aiming, gear switching, and shooting. Personally, I like to use the mouse for just about anything because I have a large hand and the keyboard is not that comfortable for me. So I'm using the mouse, as you see in the video, for just about anything. Just to show the amount of distance you have to move the mouse to perform a 90, 180 and 360, I'm using the mouse, the center point, as a pivot, so it will be easier for you to compare. So this is true for any gaming mouse or any mouse out there, and as you see, my sensitivity is high. These, of course, are my personal settings. Vertical movement, it's about the same as the horizontal movement. This is 180 when jumping in the middle of the battle. Throwing a grenade, shooting, switching. Okay, let's start with the settings. Go to Control Panel, Hardware and Sound, and there you will find the mouse settings. Leave the Windows settings as is. Let's move on to your gaming software. I'm using the automatic game detection, meaning when I launch PlanetSide 2 or Battlefield 3 or any game, the settings will load automatically. Next are the customized pointer settings. As you see, I use 3 levels of DPI sensitivity, and I will explain why. The default settings for me is 1800. I use it for infantry or just about anything. But sometimes I get the mood to snipe from a long distance, and I use lower sensitivity. Or sometimes when I'm in a vehicle, I like to use higher sensitivity. I can switch them in-game using the mouse, of course, and I will show you later on how to do that. Let's talk about the next thing. It's a very important thing. It's the report rate or the polling rate. You can find it on any gaming mouse or generic mouse. You have to download the software for changing that, and you can find it on Google. So what is the report rate? Actually, it's very simple. So the polling rate or the report rate determines how often the mouse sends information to your computer. In other words, registering your movement. Of course, we want higher rates, so we are going to use 1000, so it's every 1 millisecond. Moving over for the more interesting part is the customized buttons. These are my settings, and I will explain some of them. Some of them are obvious, some of them can look a little bit strange. So the middle click is a knife. Switching over to the secondary is just for me, it's easier to just tap right and on the middle button and switching over to the secondary. As you see, the DPI increase is not DPI increase in the Battlefield settings. It's G, throwing out a grenade. It's much easier for me to do that than the keyboard. DPI down is the default. As you see, the DPI up, I'm using it when I want to switch over, as I said before, from sniping a long distance or driving a vehicle. Shift, of course, for running, it's much easier for me to use the mouse. And back is just the generic button, I don't use it. Remember, these settings are the basic settings. Of course, to make those settings work for you, you have to play with them, maybe increase sensitivity, maybe lower it, but the base is there. And you have to remember, there is one more thing to set, is the in-game sensitivity. And the best way to do that is to lower it to 0, find an empty map or a quiet place in-game, and slowly to increase the sensitivity until you get to your comfortable zone, and that's it. Hit save and start on people.